The Russian army on the front line suddenly received a mysterious new type of weapon. The strength has improved, and the United States and Europe panicked. Less than 24 hours, Europe has imposed additional sanctions on Chinese companies. So does this batch of new equipment have anything to do with China? Putin's recent speech may be able to provide the answer. Hello everyone, I'm Tong. Thank you for your support. According to Russian satellite communications, a few days ago, the Russian front received a new batch of 150 mm caliber Malo self-propelled howitzers. This model of howitzer can be equipped with high explosive fragmentation. Its lethality is enough to destroy any target within 24 kilometers. And that's not all. It is more maneuverable than traditional tracked guns. Performance is also stronger. At the same time, it is also less expensive to maintain. In this way, cost-effective equipment is a gratifying upgrade for the Russian front. Less than 24 hours after the news broke, the European Union has imposed additional sanctions on Chinese companies. On the 24th of June, local time, the European Union announced sanctions against 61 companies suspected of providing assistance to Russia. Among them, 19 Chinese companies were on the blacklist. The reason is that they sell dual-use products or science and technology to Russia that can help improve Russia's defense and security. On June 14th, after the G7 summit in Italy, a joint statement was issued, warning China not to allow aid to Russia. Cooperation with Russia is also not allowed. Failure to do so will result in sanctions. The G7 also threatened to say that Sino-European relations would also be affected as a result, pressure China to choose a side between Russia and Ukraine. After this summit, for the first time, sanctions were imposed on Chinese companies because of Russia-related factors by Japan. For the first time, sanctions were imposed on Chinese companies because of Russia-related factors by Japan. So whether China has supplied weapons or military technology to Russia. In recent Putin's speech, perhaps the answer has already been given. On the 23rd of June, local time, a journalist posted a video of Russian President Vladimir Putin communicating with graduates of military universities on social platforms. Putin said Russia could become self-sufficient with its own defense industry, and said that no one has ever donated anything to Russia. And in fact, it is true that Russia does not need assistance from other countries. Russia appears to be an enemy of the 32 NATO countries and Ukraine. But in reality, the extent of these countries' assistance to Ukraine is limited. Many of them prioritize preserving their strength, and some countries are powerless. Still others have not thought of providing assistance at all. There are even others who are afraid of triggering a Russian counterattack, so they maintain the restraint of support. Even the United States, the most militarily powerful one, it is still limited in its support for Ukraine. The economy has long been stabilized between the 2 years of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, and the defense industry was strengthened after winning the election. A major personnel change was also carried out by Putin in the national defense, national security, and other departments. For the time being, the economic elite has been placed in a crucial position. In the future, the supply of armaments to the Russian army should not be worried. And what about between Russia and Ukraine? Or the military power gap between Eastern and Western Europe? The next step may only get bigger and bigger. The reason why the United States and its allies continue to target Chinese companies. But it's a warning. And the US also knows that China has never supplied weapons to Russia. In the past 2 years, the US has not found the slightest evidence. But the American side is afraid of such a possibility. Therefore, it can only be pulled with China in the form of a sanctions war. And for the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, China insists on its own way of doing the business. We will play a constructive role in resolving the Ukrainian crisis. On the 24th, Polish President Duda visited China. The Chinese side criticized the United States and Europe for diverting contradictions under the pretext of normal trade between China and Russia, and remind the United States and the West that they will not solve the current crisis at all. Since the beginning of this year, The United States and Europe have already made many warnings about China because of the conflict. A number of measures have also been taken. As a result, China-US and China-EU relations have suffered a negative impact. The United States and Europe do not allow China and Russia to cooperate. However, their trade with Russia has never stopped. Cut off the energy deal with Russia. There are too many ridiculous things about this, and this double standard approach is already tired to watch. It is time for the Russia-Europe conflict to come to an end.